Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Some very warm conditions across parts of eastern England for the time of year. Temperatures up to 18, maybe even 19 Celsius, where many places seeing some sunshine as well. But it's far from sunny and warm everywhere. We've got low pressure clinging to the western areas, bringing outbreaks of rain across Scotland in particular, persistent rain in western Scotland. The rain may ease in Northern Ireland, some showery rain for southern Scotland, the far northwest of England, west coast of Wales and Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly too. But a good part of eastern Wales, much of the Midlands and eastern England, dry and fine. And it's across the southeast where we've really got the warmth, 17, 18, perhaps 19 Celsius. Everywhere is quite mild, but obviously it doesn't feel all that mild in Scotland with the wet conditions here. They'll slowly start to pull away from the central belt during this evening time, but much of the west coast and further north will continue with outbreaks of rain through the evening. The rain should also be easing in Northern Ireland, but not completely. There'll still be some showers moving in here. Pretty showery rain will come into northern England through the evening time as well, perhaps spread across South Wales down towards Cardiff, but much of the Midlands and eastern England remains dry and largely clear well into the evening time. Overnight, the cloud will slowly start to push its way further southwards, bringing a few spots of rain here and there. We'll continue with some outbreaks of rain, particularly in western Scotland. The breeze starts to strengthen as we go through the night as well, with the mild air in place, while temperatures really holding up through the course of the night. On to the details for Thursday, and it looks like many areas will have a dry start. Quite a lot of cloud initially. Rain will soon spread into Northern Ireland, though. That'll push into western Scotland. Then that rain will trickle into northern England and Wales. The odd little bit of showery rain, perhaps into the Midlands, southwest England, but much of the southeast again staying dry. And here again we'll have the highest temperatures. Not as warm as today, but still creeping in to the teens. Goodbye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
This is Ellie, and this is a
safari.
These are the decent ones. This is amazing. Tell us about this.
Right, so this was the best part of the honeymoon. This is my favourite part. We're in Kenya, in the Masai Mara. That's the camp there. So it's immersed right in the middle of the
Gosh.
That's
a giraffe, I know that one.
That's a big giraffe, yeah. And we saw the big five, and it was amazing. Oh, and we went to see a Masai Mara tribe, and this was me with the tribe, and they did a big dance for us, and they were jumping up and down, and it was amazing. And we took pencils and colouring. Oh, that's my husband there. That's Jared. And we took colouring books for the kids, and we took crayons, and they loved it.
Oh, that
we had
was
the best
nice.
time.
That was nice
yeah, and then that's an elephant. Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And the best animal we saw, which I don't think we got a picture of, is a leopard, and we got so close to the leopard.
Camouflage.
We were
was good
eye
there.
to eye. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Was it a bit scary?
It wasn't at all. You know, it was very
open there,
peaceful.
your little car.
You're in an open van, but they're not threatened by the van or by you at all. It's very strange. And we didn't see the daddy lion until the last day. And Eamon was messaging me every day saying, "Have you seen the daddy lion yet? You still haven't seen him."
Who's the daddy? Who's the daddy?
And eventually we did, and they are majestic, the lions.
Very good. Right.
I recommend to anybody who likes their animals. Go on safari.
Alice, she's brought in all these pictures, you know, and we brought in. We sat here. with popcorn, ready to watch it. We'll have to have a show of all this and watch all of this. But
Get
anyway.
those snacks ready.
When can we open these then?
Well, I've still got to show you what other pictures I've got to show you.
If there's demand for it, but there's no demand. People aren't interested.
Well, then I'll just take this away.
Then we'll just take them home.
Take it to go.
But that was Ellie's honeymoon, which she delayed for 7 months or so, and then
Took some planning.
Welcome back to
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 25th of February. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
A shock revelation from Sir Lindsay Hoyle just moments before Prime Minister's questions this afternoon, admitting he passed information to the police that led to Lord Mandelson's arrest over alleged plans to flee Britain.
Yes, the consequences of the Prime Minister giving that plum role to Lord Mandelson in the States go on and on and on. He got a pretty rough ride, the Prime Minister, in Prime Minister's questions too. I'll bring you more details on that shortly.
Hundreds of migrants attempting to reach Britain right now via small boats as people smugglers exploit calmer weather.
Well, we anticipate at least 500 small boat migrants are in the channel. These are the kind of numbers we don't normally see into the summer months.
2 Liberal Democrat councillors are introducing maximum tax rises to help fund new 20-mile-an-hour speed limit zones. Residents say it's disruptive and unnecessary, but councillors claim it saves lives.
You don't chase your dreams. You chase your talents. Everybody has dreams. Doesn't mean you're going to be that thing.
Actress Reese Witherspoon has caused quite a stir by telling young adults to follow their talents rather than their dreams, or debate if this is a real secret to success.
And parts of Britain today will see temperatures hotter than Athens. So is spring finally on its way?
Chase your talents, not your dreams. Because you might have a big dream, but if you're useless and no good at that thing, then sadly you may fail. So
why is that remotely controversial to say?
No, but that's what they're saying. Reese Witherspoon said. No, nobody said it's controversial. I didn't say it's controversial.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying there is a controversy around it.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I don't get it. That's what I mean. She's right. I think. I mean, chase what you're good at. That would probably be the best thing. You can chase your dreams. If you're useless at them, then you might not get anywhere.
Ideally, align your dreams with your talents.
Well, that's if you can change your dream if it doesn't match your talent. Well, you might be really good at, well, let's think of something that's pretty useful. Spoon bending. We made quite a bit of money out of that. But anyway,
do you think Reese with a spoon
I think that's where that came from, the spoon thing, actually.
Or Reese without a spoon, I'm not quite sure. But do send in your views, your comments. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in, of course, all of the different things that we're discussing today.
Or you can scan the QR code right now. But first, your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has told MPs that he spoke to the police about Peter Mandelson.
To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media.
This comes after the Times newspaper reported that he told the force Mandelson was a flight risk after receiving a tip. Mandelson's lawyers have described claims he was planning to flee as baseless. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch claimed that during the Prime Minister's questions that Labour backbenchers are saying they're busy being called the Pedo Defenders Party.
The defining moment of this man's premiership will not be breakfast clubs. It will be the sight of the man he appointed as ambassador to Washington just last year getting arrested. No wonder they're calling themselves all sorts of things. He needs to stop moaning about us and start fixing his useless government. Why should the country have to put up with 3 more years of this?
All she does is cart from the sidelines, talk the economy down, talk the country down. In the meantime, because of our work, what is happening? Energy bills down, as announced this morning. Inflation down. Borrowing down. And what's up? Retail spending is up. Investment is up. Business confidence is up. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Sir Keir Starmer has expressed concern after a serious incident at a mosque in Manchester. A man is under arrest after allegedly entering the mosque during Ramadan prayers, carrying multiple weapons, including an axe. The suspect, a white man in his 40s, was with another man, a black male, who entered Manchester Central Mosque in the Victoria Park area of South Manchester around 8:40 last night. The first suspect was subsequently arrested by police on suspicion of carrying an offensive weapon and possession of Class B drugs. He remains in police custody for questioning. A man who stabbed a 9-year-old girl outside her mother's embroidery shop's been jailed for a minimum of 25 years. 26-year-old Devidas Skebas stabbed Lilia Valutit in the heart as she played with a hula hoop in Boston in Lincolnshire on the 28th of July of 2022. Skebas, a Lithuanian who has schizophrenia and moved back to the UK just weeks before the attack, had denied murder but admitted manslaughter by diminished responsibility. Lilia's mother said she found her daughter covered in blood and with the hoop around her. In other news, energy bills will fall by £117 a year in April. Ofgem has announced today. Nearly everyone in England, Wales and Scotland will benefit from a cut irrespective of their tariff, although the amounts will vary between households. For millions of households, the drop will mean about £10 a month for those using a typical amount of gas and electric. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband said earlier the energy price cap drop was happening because of the actions we took in the budget. But the Shadow Energy Secretary Andrew Bowie spoke to GBNews.
But this is actually devastating for Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves. Despite all of the efforts they've made, their sleight of hand, increasing taxes to pay for a slight reduction in bills, we're still £70 worse off in our energy bills than we were in July 2024. And all the experts predict that bills are going to continue to rise for the rest of this year. So this promise that Ed Miliband gave us during the election of reducing bills by £300 looks even more unlikely by the day, despite their best efforts to try and cover up what is a nonsensical approach to energy in this country.
Elsewhere, hundreds of illegal migrants are currently crossing the English Channel in the biggest surge of small boats so far this year. GB News can exclusively reveal around 450 migrants have been attempting to reach the UK today, with many having already crossed into UK waters. GB News can confirm that early this morning, a total of 10 migrant boats were launched by criminal gangs from French beaches. Before today, the biggest number of arrivals in a single day this year was 322, who made the crossing in 5 boats on the 9th of February. Today's arrivals are likely to take the total so far in 2026 to well over 2,000, higher than the totals at this point in 2024 and 2025. From today, visitors from 85 countries will need an electronic permit before travelling to the UK, or they won't be allowed to board flights. The electronic travel authorisation, costing £16, will be mandatory for travellers who don't need a visa as the government tightens border checks. Airlines will be required to refuse boarding without the authorisation or other valid documents, though British and Irish citizens are exempt. Ministers say the scheme will strengthen border security and modernise the system for travellers. And Prince William has made his first public appearance since he told reporters he was not in a calm state following the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Today, the Prince of Wales visited the Francis Crick Institute in London in advance of its 10th anniversary celebration. While at the Institute, which is a pioneering British centre for research in biomedicine, William met with researchers, doctors and students and received a tour of one of the world's foremost electron microscopy facilities. Prince William has had a long-standing interest in scientific and medical research, having served as president of the Royal Marsden, a leading cancer research hospital, since 2007. And those are the latest headlines. More from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound will buy you $1.3506 and €1.1466. The price of gold is £3,834.94 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,783 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Sir Keir Starmer faced Prime Minister's questions, the first since the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Peter Mandelson. But in a dramatic twist, Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle confirmed reports that Mandelson was suggesting to leave the country.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
Well, this comes as the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, called for a public inquiry into Epstein links.
That Jeffrey Epstein may have used British airports and even RAF bases to traffic young women and girls in and out of our country.
There's obviously a police investigation going on, and I think it's right, and I'm sure he agrees with this, that that has to go wherever the evidence takes it.
Police investigation should take priority, but that doesn't rule out a public inquiry, and it certainly doesn't rule out releasing the flight logs, which I think really should be.
Well, joining us now is Chief Political Correspondent Catherine Forster from Westminster. Catherine, drama. Just before PMQs, we discovered that Lindsay Hoyle was in fact the person who passed on that information.
Yes, indeed, and it all makes sense now because Peter Mandelson had expected to go in for a conversation with the police, had not expected to be arrested and taken away in a car late in the afternoon and released early in the morning. And we now learn that Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, was in fact in the British Virgin Islands last week, and he was told by people there that they had heard that Peter Mandelson was preparing to go and live there. Now, it's something that's been vehemently denied, but that is why the police got involved at the point at which they did. And my goodness, what a catastrophic error of judgment it's turning out to be for the Prime Minister to have appointed Peter Mandelson to that plum role of UK ambassador for the United States, because it is coming back to bite him again and again and again. It came up in Prime Minister's questions. Of course it did. Kemi Badenoch said that Labour MPs are being described as the pedo defenders party. And of course it wasn't just one lapse in judgment, because also the Prime Minister gave a peerage to his former head of comms, Matthew Doyle, despite the fact that he had been friends with a convicted sex offender. So some people will say there is a pattern there, and more awkward questions via Sir Ed Davey, who's wanting the flight logs of flights in and out of the UK that they believe, or Gordon Brown believes, that Jeffrey Epstein may have illegally trafficked girls on. So a whole world of pain for the Prime Minister, but also I thought interesting that Kemi Badenoch largely focused on young people, because we don't really hear enough about them. They don't vote as much as older people. We spend a lot of time talking about the triple lock, but younger people having a really, really tough time, and student loans, those Plan 2 loans that students took out, they are repaying those over a certain level at RPI, a measure that the government doesn't even use anymore, and 3%. So they're coming out of uni with, say, £50,000 in debt, and even though they may be paying it off, it is going up often quicker than they can pay it down. So the Tories have latched onto this. They realise that this is a good issue for them, and they're saying that it's become a debt trap. And the Prime Minister did say that the government is looking at ways to make it fairer. And I think it was interesting too that Kemi Badenoch pointed out another change of position, that before the Prime Minister was in the job. Sir Keir Starmer said that they would scrap tuition fees. Bridget Phillipson, now the Education Secretary, said that young people would be better off under Labour. That's certainly not the message that most young people feel is being sent to them now, when the government is making all sorts of decisions and student loans that they feel are a millstone around their necks. And just finally, it wouldn't be Prime Minister's questions without the Prime Minister taking a pop at Nigel Farage. But I think there was a really serious point that he was making, because there was a Reform councillor who had retweeted a death threat to a Labour MP, Natalie Fleet. She was just in the studio in PMQs earlier. The Prime Minister wanted an apology from Nigel Farage and an assurance that that Reform councillor would be sacked. Nigel Farage had the next question anyway. I thought he might have responded to that, but he totally ignored it. He talked only about the Chagos Islands. In fact, he's got an urgent question on that now in the Commons. The government are currently sticking to there's nothing to see here line, and they are saying that the operation of the base was in immediate jeopardy. Well, opinions on that most certainly vary.
All right, Catherine Forster, thank you so much.
Well, joining us now in the studio is the Labour commentator Simon Nash. Simon, thanks indeed for being with us. Quite the eventful Prime Minister's questions, of course. Let's start with this issue of the arrest of Peter Mandelson and frankly, the shadow that this casts upon the decisions that the Prime Minister has made.
Well, it does cast a bit of a shadow, but I actually think it reflects well on Keir Starmer. He allowed this man to be arrested. He didn't use back channels through his work at the CPS or anything like that to stop this from happening. Mandelson could have just retired in disgrace or grace, but instead the process was allowed to carry on. And I think it's pretty appalling that Mandelson has used lawfare to turn things around with this great law firm and PR to say, oh, how dare you arrest me? Well, actually, no, this shows that the system works. And at the time that he was appointed as US Ambassador, that was a great appointment to everyone's knowledge, because all of this has come out as a result of the Epstein files. No one would have known how close the relationship between Mandelson and Epstein was when he was appointed. And the opposition, Reform, even Nigel Farage said, well, actually, this is a great appointment.
Can I just pull you up on something? Sorry, Simon, because you do look so lovely in that suit. I love the outfit. But you said that that's good that Keir Starmer didn't use his back channels at the CPS to stop this from happening. He shouldn't even be... If that's a good thing that he's doing, to me, he shouldn't be anywhere near back channels at CPS to stop something from happening.
I'm not saying that he's ever done that or anyone has done that, but...
You were suggesting that because he hadn't done that, that was a good thing, which is why he's come across well. And I think, well, the fact that that would be a consideration that he might do is actually a bad thing.
Or something similar. You know, he might have said, or someone might have said to Peter Mandelson, oh, you know, just leave the country before this blows up, or something like that. Politicians protect people in various ways when they shouldn't and illegally, and it's a good thing that doesn't happen. I mean, how many politicians get arrested for misconduct in public office? It didn't happen under the last...
Well, Keir Starmer wants deflection. He's quite happy for, you know, he wants this all off. He's like, I didn't know anything. He wants him away from him.
Well, we know that he didn't know anything. If he had access to the Epstein files when he appointed, well, that's true. But I think this shows that the system works, and Keir Starmer isn't corrupt and hasn't used dodgy back channels or anything, like I'm sure has probably happened with previous administrations, to stop him being arrested. Now, this is it was a serving member of the House of Lords, although he resigned from the House of Lords first. You know, they've gone to efforts to actually de-lord him as well with an Act of Parliament. I think this is actually laudable and shows that Keir Starmer is honest and doing the right thing.
But we didn't just learn about Peter Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein through the Epstein files. We could have read it in the newspapers. I mean, the Financial Times published that Peter Mandelson stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in New York after his conviction as a paedophile. That was published in the summer of 2023. It was put to Keir Starmer at press conferences. And now, despite having known that Peter Mandelson had stayed at the home of a disgraced financier paedophile, Keir Starmer still appointed him to be US Ambassador. I mean, that's the crucial question here, because Starmer has tried to obfuscate around this question, and yet we know that he was provided with that information before he made the appointment?
Well, perhaps Pete Mandelson didn't know the depths and depravity of Epstein's crimes, and diplomats deal with all kinds of people. You know, the guy running Saudi Arabia, you know, the Crown Prince, you know, he had a journalist chopped up in the basement of an embassy. We deal with African dictators with harems of
We don't
wives,
get to choose African dictators.
He
We have to
appointed
deal
him.
with them on a diplomatic level. We do get to choose our ambassador to the United States. There are 67 million Brits, and Keir Starmer chose Peter Mandelson.
That's true. He is an effective political operator. I think it's likely... everyone thought at the time he didn't know the depths of Epstein's crimes at the time. He was well networked to Bill Clinton, to the Trilateral Commission, all these multi-billionaires and political leaders that he was connected to. So in the world of realpolitik, he was a great deal for the UK at the time.
Simon,
So-
can I ask you then, knowing what he would have known before he appointed him, if you were him, would you have appointed Peter Mandelson?
I don't know exactly what Keir Starmer
No, but just
knew
from
at the
what's
time.
in the paper, which you could have read, so what we knew at the time, if it were you and you were in Keir Starmer's position, would you appoint him?
So, based on what was in the newspapers at the time, I didn't read all of the newspapers at the time and know every detail
Okay,
about
but now
Peter
you
Mandelson.
would know what was out there at the time that was available for Keir Starmer to read. So I'm asking you, Simon, would you have appointed him?
I can't answer that. I think a dossier
you're the only one that can. I'm asking you.
I think possibly. Did he know how bad Epstein was? We know how bad he was because of the Epstein files. What was his offence at the time? You know, he might... I mean, the age of consent in America is 18. He could have said, oh, yeah, you know, I just went with a 17-year-old and that's illegal in this state. That's why I was put into an open prison. And we know that his conviction was in a sealed judgment. So it wasn't until a year or two later that anyone knew exactly what the crime was. It was sealed, even in America.
So is that a yes or a no?
I would get someone to do a proper dossier to work out really what he knew.
This is why that humble address in Parliament...
No, isn't it?
It's a maybe. You'd get someone to make a dossier on Peter Mandelson and on Epstein at the time. Again, the Epstein files have now come out, and we know that he was prostituting 14-year-olds, and you know, women were physically harmed and you know and raped and other things I couldn't say on air. That was absolutely awful. I think it's reasonable to believe that people didn't know how bad it was before the Epstein files were released.
And yet, we will know this because, of course, there was a humble address brought forward by the official opposition in Parliament that said that it's not just the Epstein files that the United States is releasing. There are, of course, the Peter files, the Mandelson files here in this country that will be released. And we'll be able to see exactly what the Prime Minister knew at the moment he appointed Peter Mandelson. That might be a political dangerous moment for him.
Well, exactly, yeah. And if it does say that, oh yeah, Mandelson knew every detail about Epstein, they partied together in you know, and committed debaucherous acts together, and it said that in the dossier, and Keir Starmer knew, well, that would reflect very badly on him. But I think, you know, we don't, as I said previously, we don't DBS our friends. You don't create dossier. I mean, Peter Mandelson...
But you do DBS a potential ambassador to the US.
Well, yeah, well, he didn't have a criminal record, though, did he? So it wouldn't come up in a DBS check.
Well, yes, I've had a DBS check, and they don't just check whether you've got a criminal record. All right, listen, thank you very much, Simon Nash. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, lots of news happening today. Hundreds of illegal migrants are currently crossing the English Channel in the biggest surge of small boats so far this year.
Now, this comes as figures show that French police allowed 2/3 of migrant crossings to reach Britain, despite the UK spending £700 million to France to stop this.
Well, let's speak to our Home Affairs editor, Mark White, because, Mark, this is a serious surge.
The kind of surge that we don't normally see in the winter months in terms of the numbers crossing. We're told now at least 500 have crossed, that 10 small boats pushed off from French beaches this morning. Not all of them potentially will make it, just depending on how overcrowded they are, their engine reliance and issues like that. But if a good proportion of them make it, they're carrying about 70 migrants each. So as I say, we're up 500-600 potentially crossing today. The kind of numbers that you see certainly in the summer months, but not in the winter months. And that's going to push the total for the year well over 2,000 and higher actually than the total at this point last year, and indeed in 2024. So far from gripping the situation and bringing the numbers down, the trajectory, as we know, continues to creep ever upwards. And this despite the fact in the first 2 months of this year. We have had atrocious weather conditions right across the country, and particularly in the English Channel, that has prevented so many of these crossings. So, you know, goodness only knows what numbers we might have been at had weather conditions been better in the Channel. I'm told from our sources that at least 4,500 to 5,000 migrants are currently on the other side of the Channel in the makeshift camps waiting for these improvements in the weather to take their turn to come across and make this illegal journey.
Mark White, thank you very much indeed. More on you on this important story throughout the programme, of course.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Reese Witherspoon says stop chasing your dreams and start chasing your talents. We'll debate is the secret to real success what she has said.
But after the break, 2 Lib Dem councils approve maximum tax hikes to roll out low speed limits, but is it worth the cost?
Well, all of that and indeed more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
There are at least 500 dumps scouring the British countryside, and there's a massive one, which we've been at this morning for GB News in Wigan. It's been dubbed the most dangerous of its kind in the country, and it's on land past Young King. It stinks. It's attractive. It will be a magnet for rodents, rats. Look at that.
I just think,
if you're listening on the radio, it is. Well, how high would you say that is?
Well,
18 foot high.
Contact, but yeah, at least meters and meters. And you can understand.
If you dived in that, you'd be dead.
You would. Wouldn't recommend it. You can understand. Well, it's taller than the trees. It is taller than the trees. It's taller than a JCB. How on earth did this happen? Well, joining us now from the dump itself is GB News national reporter Sophie Reaper. Sophie, we've just been saying how you can understand fly tipping, people dumping the odd bin bag or piece of furniture, but how do you go from that to this enormous piece of rubbish dump?
It's disgraceful.
I think that's the question on the lips of a lot of the local residents in this area, Miriam. People asking how and why this has been allowed to happen and why nothing's been done about it. We got the chance to speak exclusively to the owner of one of those houses, whose house is right there, his garden backs right onto it. Here's what he had to say.
Well, down here, you've forgotten. The council ignore it. They just skirt around the edges of it, doing nothing. When they cleaned up the one in Oxfordshire, they said they're only cleaning that one up because it was a fire risk. This has already been on fire once. It cost over £500,000 to put the fire out, and it's going to happen again. So, but just by their own standards, I think they should clear it up. If it costs £3 million, it costs £3 million.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past 1. Now, 2 councils in Gloucestershire and Hertfordshire are raising council tax to help fund new 20-mile-an-hour speed limit zones.
Yes, taxpayers have argued that the money should be spent on priority services. I mean, who asked them to do this? Why are they doing this? Notably, fixing potholes. Now, I have to admit, I live in Hertfordshire. It's a big place, so you won't find me. But I've got to tell you now, there's a road. Even yesterday, before this came up, I was driving along this road, my car went... into these things, and I just thought, how dare they? And now they wanted to put the money up to go 20 miles. You can't go faster than 20 miles, otherwise your wheels will fall off.
Do you know what? I was driving in the Cotswolds a couple of weekends ago.
In your little Mini?
In my little Mini, whacked into a pothole, took out a tyre.
No.
Took out a tyre.
Yeah.
Cost me 160 quid.
Yeah, you can't sue the council because they'll say, we'll prove it, and you haven't got time for that. So local council leaders are saying that 20 miles per hour zones was the key priority for the authority, tackling accident rates and creating a healthier environment.
Well, let's speak now to the London campaign coordinator for 20's Plenty, Jeremy Leach. Jeremy, why does it cost money? Why are taxes going up to lower the speed limit?
Just to put the signs up, yeah?
Well, there is a cost associated with changing from 30 mile an hour to 20 miles an hour. It is, it's generally relatively low, around about £10 a head to do that.
So it's interesting then that the council tax rates are going up to the highest that they can put them up to for doing that. I mean, aren't you just putting things saying 20 around there?
So I'm not sure how. It's a relatively small cost. I think for Hertfordshire it's about 1.5 million out of their total budget of 1.2 billion. So really so. But I just want to say what a difference lower speed limits make. I mean, you really asked the question, before the break of is it worth the cost? And what I say is what we see regularly now is we're seeing a 25% reduction in casualties where 20 mile an hour limits are introduced. So for somewhere like Hertfordshire, they currently cost £87 million a year, the cost of casualties on 30 miles an hour roads. If that was reduced to 20 mile an hour, you'd save £22 million according to
Jeremy,
costs and loss of earnings. So there's a huge benefit. So I would say that the cost is relatively little to the benefit.
Is there a risk that with these huge 20 mile an hour areas, because I do understand outside of school, absolutely, there are some streets where it's completely appropriate, but driving in and around London, the entire blooming place, all of the centre of it, it's all now 20. And I think that there's a risk here, because I often drive, and I see a lot of people in 20 zones, frankly, not going 20. Is there a risk that the limit is too low, that you actually install a sense of people just wantonly ignoring the limit? And that's a very dangerous thing to install in people, because they'll travel at 25, 27 in these places.
And I think those are really valid points to make. What I would say is that what we're finding is there's around about 5 mile an hour average speed reduction when 20 mile an hour is reduced. So yes, we've still got work to do to get people to comply with the 20 mile an hour, but their speeds are coming down an awful lot. And the key point I'd like to make is that where in London 70% of casualties happen on main roads. They happen on those high streets, those roads where people and vehicles mix. So just putting that outside the schools, outside hospitals, that's not going to have the impact that 20 mile an hour can have to reduce casualties. So I totally understand your point of view, and it's a well-made point. But in places where people and vehicles mix, in built-up areas, you've got to do 20 in a wide area to really have the impact.
Well, what about the argument, the sort of air pollution argument as well, that you're going slower, you're there for longer, so that doesn't really help. And some of these cars are quite heavy as well, more pressure on the road as well. You go more quickly, less pressure. What about those? And also, what about the highway code? That, I think, is responsible, where if somebody steps out in a built-up area, they are prioritised, which is fine, but it just means, I have noticed recently, people just wandering into the road and just expecting you to stop. Now, you don't know they're going to suddenly do that.
Well, there's an awful lot of points there, which I won't try and unpick them all, but I think
do the main ones.
Okay, the highway code one is a really good one. And I think the absolute point is the stopping distance at 20 is a fraction of that at 30. So the chance of stopping successfully before you hit one is so much greater if you're going at a lower speed. In terms of the other points you make, like air quality, noise, and people's perceptions, air quality is not made worse by 20 mile an hour limits. In built-up areas, nearly all of the energy used is getting up to 20 miles an hour, getting up to 30 miles an hour, and it uses so much more energy to go up to 30 miles an hour than 20. And as you know, as you were saying, driving around London, London is not a constant driving at a speed. It's up to the next car. It's up to a bit of congested traffic. It's up to a traffic light. So it's all that stopping and starting. If you're only increasing your speed to 20 mile an hour, you're using far much less energy than you are to go to 30.
Really interested in what you said a moment ago about the average reduction being 5 miles an hour. So are you admitting there that actually no one follows these 20 mile an hour limits? No. Everyone goes 25 in them.
So I think what I'm saying is two things. Where you insert 20 mile an hour speed limits in roads which are already, neighbourhood streets, residential roads, typically people stick at around 20 miles an hour. On higher speed roads, the ones you were talking about earlier, the main roads, the high streets, we typically don't get all the way to 20 mile an hour.
That's the important point. Jeremy, we have to leave it there. Very interesting. We could talk to you for a long time. But I suspect the reason why you don't go over 20 is those awful speed cameras. That's Jeremy Leach. Really good to talk to you. He's the London campaign coordinator for 20's Plenty.
Well, now Lisa Spivey, who's the leader of Gloucestershire Council, said this.
Lower speed limits don't just tackle accident rates, they create healthier environments with better air quality, making people feel safer and encouraging walking and cycling.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme, but first, let's get those news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has told MPs that he spoke to the police about Peter Mandelson.
Prevent any inaccurate speculation. I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith.
This comes after the Times newspaper reported that he told the force Mandelson was a flight risk after receiving a tip. Mandelson's lawyers have described claims he was planning to flee as baseless. Hundreds of illegal migrants are crossing the English Channel in the biggest surge of small boats so far this year. GB News can exclusively reveal around 450 migrants are attempting to reach the UK today, with many having already crossed into UK waters. Energy bills will fall by £117 a year in April, Ofgem has announced, following a shake-up in charges by the government. Nearly everyone in England, Wales and Scotland will benefit from a cut irrespective of their tariff. Those are the latest headlines, more at the top of the hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Tatiana. 36 minutes after 1 o'clock. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Reese Witherspoon says stop chasing your dreams and start chasing your talents. We'll have that debate. Is the secret to real success what she just said?
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Some very warm conditions across parts of eastern England for the time of year. Temperatures up to 18, maybe even 19 Celsius, where many places seeing some sunshine as well. But it's far from sunny and warm everywhere. We've got low pressure clinging to the western areas, bringing outbreaks of rain across Scotland in particular, persistent rain in western Scotland. The rain may ease in Northern Ireland, some showery rain for southern Scotland, the far northwest of England, west coast of Wales and Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly too. But a good part of eastern Wales, much of the Midlands and eastern England, dry and fine. And it's across the southeast where we've really got the warmth, 17, 18, perhaps 19 Celsius. Everywhere is quite mild, but obviously it doesn't feel all that mild in Scotland with the wet conditions here. They'll slowly start to pull away from the central belt during this evening time, but much of the west coast and further north will continue with outbreaks of rain through the evening. The rain should also be easing in Northern Ireland, but not completely. There'll still be some showers moving in here. Pretty showery rain will come into Northern England through the evening time as well, and perhaps spread across South Wales down towards Cardiff, but much of the Midlands and eastern England remains dry and largely clear well into the evening time. Overnight, the cloud will slowly start to push its way further southwards, bringing a few spots of rain here and there. We'll continue with some outbreaks of rain, particularly in western Scotland. The breeze starts to strengthen as we go through the night as well, with the mild air in place, while temperatures temperatures really holding up through the course of the night. On to the details for Thursday, and it looks like many areas will have a dry start. Quite a lot of cloud initially. Rain will soon spread into Northern Ireland, though. That'll push into western Scotland. Then that rain will trickle into northern England and Wales. The odd little bit of showery rain, perhaps into the Midlands, southwest England, but much of the southeast again staying dry. And here again we'll have the highest temperatures. Not as warm as today, but still creeping in to the teens. Goodbye.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, both directions have a 30 miles per hour limit. In Norfolk, the A47 westbound between the A1065 and the A10 is shut after a crash, with delays until 6 this evening. In Northamptonshire, the A5 northbound between the A43 and the A45 is closed following a collision, with recovery by 5:10. In Wiltshire, the A303 eastbound is blocked after a vehicle crossed the central reservation, clearing around 3:20. On the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country report disruption between Wolverhampton and Stafford. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 20 to 2. Some breaking news just coming into us.
Yes, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now with that information. Charlie, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you both. Well, GB News has been told that the Scottish Government will launch a grooming gangs inquiry, and that's going to be announced in Holyrood in the Scottish Parliament later this afternoon. Multiple sources telling us today that that announcement is imminent from the Scottish Government. It comes after this channel revealed last year a grooming and abuse network in Glasgow that had operated some 10 years ago amid concerns that the broader national inquiry launched by Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, in June of last year would not extend beyond England and Wales. I can also tell you now that a mother of a grooming gang survivor who has worked with GB News on our coverage of this crisis north of the border met with Jenny Gilruth, who is the Scottish Government Minister who is set to make that announcement later today. Met with Miss Gilruth this morning to discuss further the plans that the government will be making. I understand that there have been at least 2 meetings between the mother of that survivor and Jenny Gilruth in recent months to discuss the reaction to announcements last year and what the Scottish Government could do to further gain the confidence of victims and survivors and their families in Scotland. Now, last year, in reaction to that report from GB News and also a letter being written by that survivor involved in that piece, who we're calling Taylor, the Scottish Government said it would launch a review of grooming gangs in Scotland. That is now set to be upgraded to a full inquiry. We will await the details later this afternoon.
Charlie Peters, thank you very much. Of course, more on that story throughout the day here on GB News.
Now, we're often told to follow our dreams, but could that be the wrong career move?
Well, the actress Reese Witherspoon has come under fire for telling fans to stop dreaming and focus on their talents.
You are supposed to do what you're talented at. So it's your job in life to figure out what your specific, unique talents are and go chase them. That's what you're going to do. Chase your talents, not your dreams.
Yeah, so some people are saying that this is controversial, but is she right? Should we stop following our dreams?
Delighted to be joined now by the entrepreneur and author of What's Your Dream, Simon Squibb, and the entrepreneur and chairman of WeFix London, Charlie Mullins. OK, Simon, we're going to start with you. What do you make of what Reese Witherspoon said?
Well, come on. You know, people need to have hope. And there's times when things are expensive and we don't feel like there's any hope. We can't own a home. We're not allowed to dream anymore. I mean, I think I was homeless at 15 years old. And if I didn't have a dream of getting out of that and seeing a better world, I wouldn't be where I am today. Yes, I've developed skills and talents and I've doubled down on them. And that's helped me achieve that dream. But I needed a North Star. So you need a dream.
All right, Charlie Mullins.
Right, I'll ask you one question, Simon. How many people that dream are successful?
out of 100?
Well, you, for a start, you were 9 years old when you were inspired by someone. They had something you were inspired by.
How many people out of 100 people that follow their dreams are successful? The answer is you don't know. Well,
of course, it's not a very clear question.
Well, no, I think it's quite a clear question. He said out of 100.
Well, I mean, I can't do the answer.
I think there's an average. What's the answer, Charlie?
I'm speaking plain English. So you don't know the answer. OK, so 8% of people make it by following their dreams. 92% people don't. Why would you give that advice to anybody to follow your dreams? Follow your passion, make sure you earn some money, make sure you can open up a business and then go for your dreams. But if you go for your dreams and not your passion and not work, you will wind up skint, homeless and probably begging on the streets because you haven't got a job.
Strong words there, Charlie. Let's get Simon's response.
Go on, Simon.
So, you know, 67% of stats are made up anyway, mate. I mean, to be honest with you, I think out there right now, I speak to thousands of people every single month who have dreams, and many of them are making it happen. Of course, you've started businesses that failed. There's nothing wrong with failure. That's how we learn. I mean, I think this is the problem with the school system. We expect people, failure is getting an A, success is getting an A, and failure is getting a D. It's not binary. What is your dream and what is success for you could be different to the listeners. I think people should have dreams. I don't think that's a wrong argument. You can throw these fake stats out there if you want. I don't know where you've got them from. It doesn't really matter. I think people listening, if they have a dream, my message is, well, OK, great. Well, that doesn't mean it's true, does it?
And also I mean, common sense, of course.
You know, how many businesses fail in the first year?
Well, where did you get your stats from?
99%.
From the government statistics on
99%.
Not true. 23% of businesses in the UK fail in the first year. 65% fail in the first 3 years.
Can I just say, let's not have numbers off.
But what I'm saying is, like, it's not 99%. That is not true. That is factually not true. Look at Companies House, look at the stats.
I think, hold on, sorry, can I just stop you, gentlemen? I think the point he's making is... Charlie, hold on a second. Hold on a second, Charlie.
You don't make no money.
So what? That's got nothing to do with it. Making money as part of the process of building a business. But you're just talking about a business dream right now, right? That's not the only dream people have.
I'm not talking about any dreams. I mean, I'm not a dreamer.
Yes, you are. You dreamed of that person you were inspired by when you were young. They had the nice cars, the nice house, and you wanted it too.
Can you let Charlie speak? Sorry.
I don't dream about being successful. You know, I come up with an idea, what's a passion, what I think I can turn to money, what I think I can be good at. I mean, you've done an interview with some young lady and you said to her, what's your passion or what's your dream? And she said, I want to be a runner, I want to be this. So you said, well, you can do that. And then you said, how often do you run? She said, every day. And then you said to her, OK, so maybe you could be a coach or something. And then the golden question was, you said to her, what do you do now? And she said, I'm unemployed. That's what her dream's done for her, unemployed.
No, she had no dream when I met her. We can play the clip if you want. You're taking it out of context. She didn't. She was unemployed and had no dream. And I asked her what her dream could be, and we figured it out. And now she's running. She's a run club. She's making money. She's employing people.
Yeah, I thought
you have it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I know another guy that I've done a show with, and he was pretty much like down on the ground, out of everything, weren't doing no well. Give him a little bit of help, and his dream was to win an Oscar. Now, I bet £1 million he ain't won an Oscar because it's a dream. It's not real. It's not realistic. It's not. It's not something that will happen.
You don't know that? You don't know that?
Really?
Someone's got to win it.
Well, I didn't dream that I was going to be a successful plumber. But what I did have was a passion, knowing that plumbing will lead to earning good money. But I never had the dream of being like a successful plumber. Look, I dreamt I wanted to be a boxer. I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to speak now.
Yeah, you dreamt of being a boxer. He's not a boxer.
But you had someone you were young you were inspired by. They had what you wanted. You dreamt of having their life, and then you worked hard to make it happen. That's all I'm saying. I think we should give people that chance.
Gentlemen, we do have to leave it there because we're running out of time. But I could talk about this for ages. This is fun. Listen, really good to talk to you, Charlie Mullins. Always a pleasure. And also Simon Scriven, entrepreneur and chairman of keep dreaming. Oh. Well, keep dreaming, but dreaming is good. Dreaming is good, but I agree with him. My dad said that you can be an actress in your spare time, get a business. That's what he said.
I think this is a debate that will go on and on and on, but this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more to come on today's programme.
Yes, parts of Britain today will see temperatures hotter than Athens. Is spring on its way?
But first, let's check that weather in Athens.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Plenty of warm and sunny weather across Europe now. Blustery showers in Cyprus, windy in the Canaries. Those two regions the exception to the mostly dry and settled theme. High pressure across Central Europe, bringing plenty of sunshine through Spain, Portugal, into France. Italy seeing above average temperatures as well, 17 or 18 Celsius widely. But we do have these showers across the Greek islands into Cyprus with some gusty winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 52 minutes after 1 o'clock. Now, after a very wet start, to the year, Britain is heating up.
Yes, parts of southern England are forecast to be hotter than Athens this week, although Athens is having a bit of a chilly spell. Temperatures are set to reach 17 degrees here at home.
But will the sun stick around? Let's speak to meteorologist John Ketley. John, tell us, will it be a hurricane? No, that wasn't you. That was Michael Fish. Was it Michael Fish? Which one was that? John, so what's the weather going to be like? Is it going to carry on?
Well, it very rarely does it, Nana? I think it's just a very short spell of sort of milder weather, really, across central and eastern England. Yeah, one or two spots are reaching 17, possibly 18 this afternoon. But most places now are actually a lot cooler and cloudier as you go further west and north. So, again, there's rain about over northwestern parts of the UK, and that rain is heading south. I just want to hold the back page, though. You've mentioned already that we are warmer than Athens. Quite true. In some parts of the Aegean, there are some heavy showers about, but over in Spain and Portugal, and that's the reason we're benefiting from these higher temperatures. I noticed this afternoon that the temperature in Bilbao is 27 degrees. It really is glorious over in Iberia. We're not going to get that. Let's just be grateful for what we have got today. It's about 16, 17 degrees, something like that, with some sunshine.
John, why has it been quite so miserable up to now? I can't remember a January, February that has been so wet, so dreary, so grey in all my long-legged life, or perhaps short-legged life.
Long-legged life. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, my memory goes back a little bit longer than yours, Tom, I have to say. And it does seem to have been very depressing. It's perhaps just the fact that it's after Christmas, after New Year, and we're all looking forward to spring, but spring doesn't spring so soon, does it? It normally hangs around a little bit longer this winter. And it does seem to have been very, very wet. We've been stuck in a rut, really, but we've had extremely wet winters in the past, and they've dragged on into spring. It's just that this one, it seems to have been for about 3 months now. It hasn't stopped raining, but there are signs of life in the old dog, and I think we're going to see some better days in the weeks and months ahead. I don't think we should give up just yet.
Now, I heard a little prediction that this was going to be a heat wave this summer, because I don't know where I heard it from. I think I was listening to another radio station somewhere, and they were saying that we're going to have a heat wave. Can you see that far ahead? Is there a likelihood of that?
There will be a heat wave. There seems to be a heat wave every year, and 'twas ever thus. But you tell me, you ask me when it's going to be in the summer, I wouldn't have the faintest idea. Generally speaking, they come along for about 2 or 3 weeks, don't they? We get some lovely, warm, hot, sunny weather for about 2 or 3 weeks in the middle of summer, June, July, August. But you cannot predict exactly when that's going to be when we're still in the end of February. So, yes, I'm sure there will be some great weather. And then everybody will be talking about hosepipe bans and droughts, and this is the big change in the climate and all this nonsense. But that's not going to happen. It's just what the British weather does. It'll rain and it'll get warmer as well.
Well, you can buy your fans now before they double in price in August. I mean, perhaps that's the wise thing to do. Or even install some air conditioning. But this country seems to have an utter aversion to that, even though our summers are getting hotter.
I hate air conditioning. It's just
really?
It's too cold. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, you can set the temperature.
All right, well, listen, John Ketley, thank you so much. Really good to talk to you. That is meteorologist John Ketley. He's a legend. I remember him back in the day when I was very young. I don't think you were alive at that time.
Probably not. Probably not.
I'm kind of old, but he's definitely older. Oh, by the way, what's your dream? This is a children's book from Simon Squibb. He didn't get to talk about it, but this is to help children find their dream. Simon Squibb, what's your dream? He was on earlier.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on the programme, so don't move a muscle. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 25th of February. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
That was the shock revelation from Sir Lindsay Hoyle just moments before Prime Minister's questions this afternoon, admitting that he'd passed information to police that led to Lord Mandelson's arrest over alleged plans to flee the UK.
Well, what a catastrophic decision it's proved to be. The Prime Minister appointing Peter Mandelson to that plum US ambassador role. In PMQs as well, it came back to bite him. I'll bring you more details shortly.
Hundreds of migrants attempting to reach Britain right now via small boat as people smugglers exploit calmer weather.
Breaking news, a major development in Scotland as ministers launch a full inquiry into the grooming gangs following pressure and criticism.
Yeah, multiple sources have told GB News that announcement is set to occur later this afternoon in Holyrood after the mum of a survivor met with the minister involved this morning.
People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country.
Donald Trump says America is back as he spoke for almost 2 hours last night in Washington, celebrating tax cuts, ending wars, and much over high alert on Iran.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
And victory for the Tartan Army. Scotland fans have been given the green light to wear their sporrans on their kilts at this summer's World Cup.
Yes, the Scottish FA have convinced FIFA to allow the Tartan Army to wear their sporrans. So over this hour, I think I'll be slipping into something a little more comfortable.
This whole episode of the arrest of Peter Mandelson is very, very strange. So what we've learnt is that the Speaker of the House of Commons was tipped off that Peter Mandelson was going to leave the country to a British overseas territory.
Yes, that's whilst he was in the British Virgin Islands having a nice holiday. It's quite expensive there.
But I mean, that's the British Virgin Islands. I mean, he would have been able to be arrested there as well. It's not like he's escaping the jurisdiction of the Crown. And besides, what we've learned from some reporting is that it seems that was nonsense anyway.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, you know, that we'll find out more of that as it sort of transpires. It'll be interesting to see what that's about. But tell us your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/yoursay. But first, your latest news headlines.
Nana, thank you. The top stories this hour. Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has told MPs that he spoke to the police about Peter Mandelson.
To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media.
This comes after the Times newspaper reported that he told the Force Mandelson was a flight risk after receiving a tip. Mandelson's lawyers have described claims he was planning to flee as baseless. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch claimed during Prime Minister's questions that Labour backbenchers are saying they're being called the Pedo Defenders Party.
The defining moment of this man's premiership will not be breakfast clubs. It will be the sight of the man he appointed as ambassador to Washington just last year getting arrested. No wonder they're calling themselves all sorts of things. He needs to stop moaning about us and start fixing his useless government. Why should the country have to put up with 3 more years of this?
All she does is carp from the sidelines, talk the economy down, talk the country down. In the meantime, because of our work, what is happening? Energy bills down, as announced this morning. Inflation down. Borrowing down. And what's up? Retail spending is up. Investment is up. Business confidence is up. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Breaking news this hour, as you have been hearing, the Scottish Government is to announce a grooming gangs inquiry today. It comes after GBNews last year revealed a gang operating in Glasgow. The revelations led to the SNP launching a review of grooming gangs in Scotland to be assessed by Professor Alexis Jay. It's now understood that sufficient information has come to light to merit the instruction of a further inquiry. Sir Keir Starmer has expressed concern after a serious incident at a mosque in Manchester. A man is under arrest after allegedly entering the mosque during Ramadan prayers, carrying multiple weapons, including an axe. The suspect, a white man in his 40s, was with another man, a black male, who entered Manchester's Central Mosque in the Victoria Park area of South Manchester around 8:40 last night. The first suspect was subsequently arrested by police on suspicion of carrying an offensive weapon and possession of Class B drugs. He remains in custody for questioning. Elsewhere, a man who stabbed a 9-year-old girl outside her mother's embroidery shop is being jailed for a minimum of 25 years. 26-year-old Devidas Skebas stabbed Lilia Valutit in the heart as she played with a hula hoop in Boston in Lincolnshire in 2022. Skebas, a Lithuanian who has schizophrenia and moved back to the UK just weeks before the attack, had denied murder but admitted manslaughter by diminished responsibility. Lilia's mother said she found her daughter covered in blood and with the hoop around her. Hundreds of illegal migrants are currently crossing the English Channel in the biggest surge of small boats so far this year. GB News can exclusively reveal around 450 migrants are attempting to reach the UK today, with many having already crossed into UK waters. GB News can confirm that early this morning, a total of 10 migrant boats were launched by criminal gangs from French beaches. Before today, the biggest number of arrivals on a single day this year was 322, who made the crossing in 5 boats on the 9th of February. Today's arrivals are likely to take the total so far this year to well over 2,000, higher than the totals at this point in 2024 and 2025. Energy bills will fall by £117 a year in April, regulator Ofgem has announced. Nearly everyone in England, Wales and Scotland will benefit from a cut irrespective of their tariffs. For millions of households, the drop will mean about £10 a month for those using a typical amount of gas and electric. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband said the energy price cap drop was happening because of the actions Labour took in the budget. Meanwhile, the Shadow Energy Secretary, Andrew Bowie, had this to say.
But this is actually devastating for Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves. Despite all of the efforts they've made, their sleight of hand, increasing taxes to pay for a slight reduction in bills, we're still £70 worse off in our energy bills than we were in July 2024. And all the experts predict that bills are going to continue to rise for the rest of this year. So this promise that Ed Miliband gave us during the election of reducing bills by £300 looks even more unlikely by the day, despite their best efforts to try and cover up what is a nonsensical approach to energy in this country.
And Prince William has made his first public appearance since he told reporters he was not in a calm state following the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Today, the Prince of Wales visited the Francis Crick Institute in London in advance of its 10th anniversary celebration. While at the Institute, which is a pioneering British centre for research in biomedicine, William met with researchers, doctors and students and received a tour of one of the world's foremost electron microscopy facilities. Prince William has a long-standing interest in scientific and medical research, having served as president of the Royal Marsden, a leading cancer research hospital, since 2007. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 2, and let's speak straight away with our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who has some breaking news for us.
Well, it's been reported now this afternoon that the British government is going to pause the deal to hand over the Chagos Islands and, of course, that important strategic base for the United States and the UK on Diego Garcia. They're going to pause handing over that base and, indeed, the islands to Mauritius. That in light of course, a number of developments, most notably the continued hostility towards the deal from the US president, the latest missive coming from him via the Truth Social platform just 6 days or so ago, when he said it was a bad deal, urged the British government to reconsider, said that no deal to lease any kind of property or country would be a good deal. It's the kind of area and kind of base, according to Donald Trump, that the US could have used or would use if there is an attack on Iran. So clearly pressure from the US administration because the White House and their official spokesman said that the president's remarks on Truth Social should be taken as the administration's policy. So that clearly has provided pressure. There is, of course, a huge political backlash in this country from many politicians who believe that it is a wrong-headed move to hand these islands over to Mauritius. And then amidst all that, you've got the remarkable sight of a group of Chagosians going back to one of the islands on the archipelago just in recent days. Among them, the First Minister of the Chagos Islands, Ms. Lee Mandarin, who are on one of these islands. They were served with a notice by the British Overseas Territory Patrol, the Indian Ocean Territory Patrol in recent days, telling them they had to remove themselves from that island or face the potential of time in jail and also the potential of heavy fines. Well, the response from Ms. Lee Mandarin and the other Chagosians now back on that archipelago was that they're going nowhere. Over their dead bodies, effectively, is what they said back to the British government. So a lot of pressure. We've had just this afternoon the urgent question on the Chagos Islands, and Nigel Farage from the Reform Party telling those in Parliament that it was his belief that in the coming days you may even have another island group, Mauritius, the Maldives, I beg your pardon, launching a formal bid to claim the Chagos Islands as well, that they had a history that was more connected to the Chagos Islands than Mauritius. So a real old mess, and it seems from what was being reported that the British government is now going to pause the legislation which would pave the way for the formal handing over of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, for the time being at least.
Well, Mark White, thanks very much indeed for bringing us that breaking news there. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, though, I'm not surprised, and it makes perfect sense, but this would be seen as another U-turn then? It's paused, so they're using the term paused just to make it sound like they've not actually stopped it or cancelled it, but it's not happening, is it?
Well, not for the foreseeable future. No. And only the former Foreign Office Special Advisor Ben Judder was on the media this morning saying perhaps it's best for the deal to be put on ice. So even those who sort of helped draft it and were pushing it through were saying, actually, the situation is not right for it to be put before Parliament now. I think you've got a broad consensus on all sides of the debate that actually... It's not going to be moving forward.
Code for what a stupid idea. All right, shall we move on? 14 minutes after 2 o'clock, Sir Keir Starmer faced Prime Minister's questions, the first since the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Peter Mandelson.
But in a dramatic twist, the Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, confirmed reports that Mandelson was suggested... Well, what he said was he was the person who told the police that Mandelson could well be about to leave the country. Let's hear what he said.
I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility.
Now, this comes as the leader of the Lib Dems, Sir Ed Davey, called for a public inquiry into the Epstein links.
That Jeffrey Epstein may have used British airports and even RAF bases to traffic young women and girls in and out of our country.
There's obviously a police investigation going on, and I think it's right, and I'm sure he agrees with this, that has to go wherever the evidence takes it.
Police investigation should take priority, but that doesn't rule out a public inquiry, and it certainly doesn't rule out releasing the flight logs, which I think really should be.
Well, joining us now is Chief Political Correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, this is a albatross around the Prime Minister's neck.
It absolutely is, and likely to remain so for weeks, months, years. Possibly this will still be continuing after he's no longer Prime Minister. I mean, who knows? But the catastrophic error of judgment in giving that plum US role to Lord Mandelson. They say they didn't have all the information, but look, they knew that he had continued that friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of child sex offensive. They knew it was a risk, and they decided it was a risk worth taking. And my goodness, it really isn't, because this would have all been a historic story referring to things that had happened years and years ago. But as it is, you know, the Prime Minister is at PMQs and he wants to talk about breakfast clubs and he wants to talk about inflation and interest rates and energy bills coming down. But over and over again, it comes back to Mandelson. So we had that news breaking just before PMQs. Then we had Kemi Badenoch saying that Labour MPs are saying that they're being called the Pedo Defenders Party. And it's not just that the Prime Minister appointed Mandelson. He also appointed his former head of comms, Matthew Doyle, to the House of Lords, a man who had a friendship with a convicted sex offender. So, you know, you hear all these allegations of the boys' club, something that I've heard from a number of Labour women. OK, they're trying to address that now, but what an almighty mess. And I think Ed Davey, I was in the House of Commons, you could have heard a pin drop when he was talking about the possibility that girls had been trafficked in and out of UK airports by Epstein. And so this just goes on and on. And, I mean, I thought it was interesting Kemi Badenoch went on student loans. I think young people have been massively neglected and failed, really, by politicians of all stripes, not just the loans, but the lack of jobs, all these kids going off to university, there aren't the graduate jobs, there aren't the houses are not being built, and so on and so forth. So I thought that was good to hear, and the Tories have obviously latched onto this. OK, they brought in that system, but they have latched onto this, and they're asking the PM for, I think, would it be a 16th U-turn? Let's see.
No, he's not going to do that, is
Thank
he?
you for keeping track. I had completely lost count.
To be honest, and I shouldn't say this live on air, but I've sort of lost track too, but Kemi Badenoch said the Prime Minister's already made 15 U-turns. Why don't you do another one and fix the student loan system with a 16th? I think there's things that you can say, well, is it a U-turn, is it not? But there's been a lot of changes, not least that before he became Prime Minister, he said that they would scrap tuition fees. And Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, said that that students would be better off under Labour. Now, they would say they're reintroducing maintenance grants for the poorest students, but Rachel Reeves freezing that threshold at which you start to pay back money is obviously tricky for lots of people.
It's an effective tax hike, isn't it?
I just got sick and tired of him just not answering any questions and just going on about every time he's talking about the Breakfast Club, and I can't do his voice. But then everyone just says, yes, but didn't you employ Peter Mandelson? I mean, you just couldn't make it up, could you? Well, let's speak to political commentator Benedict Spence. Benedict, so... well, first of all, the Prime Minister's performance on PMQs, I don't know whether you watched it. Did you get the same feeling that I got, that he just didn't answer the questions and was just kept talking about the Tories' time in office, and then every time he tried to say something reasonable, he then reminded that he had employed somebody who was friends with a paedophile?
It does seem to be a bit of an awkward back and forth now, where, you know, people are going to keep on raising Mandelson and he's going to reply with something to do with Liz Truss. And I think that for as long as he remains Prime Minister, that's going to be the weird Punch and Judy show backwards and forwards. Nobody's really going to learn anything. And that's the thing, you know, he let's be honest, he was never a particularly exciting performer at PMQs to begin with, but I think many people believe that he is now sort of Prime Minister in name only. We're simply waiting to see what comes of this particular scandal and to see how long it takes for somebody, anybody in the Labour Party, to sort of get the gumption to decide he's not the Prime Minister anymore and that there needs to be a challenge to him. Until then, we're just sort of sat here waiting. He's not really doing anything. Nobody else is really doing anything. And it's just a bit of an embarrassment all round. But, you know, that I think you can tell that by the fact that that's kind of all that he has now, is just to reply about how awful the Tories are. The Tories aren't even really his main opponents right now. You know, he's got an awful lot of problems facing him when it comes to reform, but also the Greens. He's stuck in default mode. He's got these stock phrases. That's all he reaches for.
And yet, is he given a bit of protection, really? Because the Mandelson files, the Peter files, whatever you want to call them, they are not going to be published for quite some time. And while we're waiting for the government to reveal all of its Peter files, we will not be able to cast judgment upon the Prime Minister in the way that perhaps many would like.
Was that you that came up with that, Peter Files? It's very good.
I don't know what you mean, Benedict.
It's one of those... it's one of those where I think actually the damage has already been done. You know, we can say that he's being protected, but I think the minds of many people in the public is already made up. Whatever Peter Mandelson ends up being accused of, whatever, you know, comes of this story, the fact of the matter is everybody is now painfully aware he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. The Prime Minister, if he wasn't aware about the depths of their friendship, should have known about it. He was the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister, at best, has made himself look very naive and a bit of an idiot, or at worst isn't telling the truth. I think that's kind of baked in. Anything that comes after that will obviously add to it. But most people, I think, are sat there going, you have displayed incredibly poor judgment over this. You've lost your chief of staff over this. What actually is there to come back from? And, you know, obviously we know that there are local elections and a by-election coming up. That's by the by. The point is most people are looking into the future and saying, where do you actually rescue your current position from? Because even if he's able to turn it round in one or both of those situations, the party behind him is pretty mutinous. He was already struggling to pass legislation that needed to be passed as it was. That's why I think it's just a matter of time now. This is the thing that's done for him. We've just not come to the end of that process yet.
And we hear that the Chagos deal has now been paused, as it were. I mean, that's really, I would say, that's just a polite way of suggesting that it's a U-turn, but they don't want to say that, really, because it'll be number 16, I think.
Well, that's equally very embarrassing that we've found ourselves sat here, all and sundry are shouting at the government that, look, this was an advisory decision. You don't need to go ahead with it because there's nobody twisting your arm. That's embarrassing enough as it is. But to then basically be sat there waiting on another country to tell you yes or no, depending on what time of day it is, whether or not we have to go, it's simply a reminder of how far British power has fallen, that our own sovereign territory, we're kind of sat here going, well, we can't even decide to give it away unilaterally if we want to. That is, as you say, deeply embarrassing, but it's not even the thing that's sort of coming up most on the doorstep. It's something that it's a really strange decision that they're deciding to push it. Every time it gets into the public consciousness, people go, oh yeah, that was a silly thing. Why are we doing that again? The other thing, of course, is assisted dying, which, you know, we were told had nothing to do with the Prime Minister. But increasingly, they're not even pretending that that's not the Prime Minister's bill. Again, something that wasn't in the manifesto, isn't universally popular, is quite divisive. These seem to be the things that, the hill that he's deciding to die on. Peter Mandelson giving away sovereign territory, and whether or not the NHS needs the added burden of assisted suicide rammed through Parliament. It's a really strange thing to decide to make your legacy out of.
Well, Benedict Spence, political commentator, tell us what you really think. Thanks indeed for joining us.
That's great. Right, 23 minutes after 2 o'clock. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, Donald Trump claims America is back as he spoke for almost 2 hours overnight in Washington. But after the break...
A major development in Scotland as ministers launch a full inquiry into grooming gangs following pressure and criticism.
All of that and much more to come here with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 27 minutes past 2 is the time. Now to some breaking news coming into us. GB News can reveal that the Scottish Government will launch a grooming gangs inquiry this very afternoon.
Well, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now with more information. Charlie.
Good afternoon to you both. Yes, Jenny Gilruth, who is the Scottish Government's Education Secretary, she is set to make a statement in Holyrood any moment now, outlining what we understand will be a Scottish grooming gangs inquiry. Now, for a bit of context for this announcement, last year in December, the same minister said that there would be a review into grooming gangs, and that came after the First Minister, John Swinney, came under quite a lot of pressure from survivors and their families in the country demanding a full investigation. Now, one woman who GB News has described as Taylor, not her real name, which we are protecting to keep her anonymous, spoke to GB News last year and provided evidence of abuse she had endured in Glasgow up to 10 years ago. We released that report in November, and that led to those demands for an inquiry. Now, Taylor actually wrote to the First Minister setting out that demand herself, which was backed by opposition parties in Holyrood. However, the review that John Swinney put forward in December, that came under criticism, particularly from the Labour MP Joni Reid, who said that it was a convoluted process that was not clear and would lead to bodies marking their own homework. So, since then, we now know that the mother of Taylor has been meeting with the Education Secretary, Jenny Gilruth. They met as recently as this morning to discuss the next steps for the Scottish Government. And that mother told me earlier today that Jenny Gilruth has taken on her concerns and that she has been the best person she has spoken to about this crisis north of the border. So we are expecting a full national inquiry to be announced later. This, of course, comes after the British Prime Minister for the entire country, Sir Keir Starmer, announcing that national inquiry in June of last year, but that's only going to look at England and Wales. It'll be very interesting to see the details that Jenny Gilruth sets out later today.
Well, Charlie Peters, thank you indeed for being here for us and having that story. This, of course, is going to be a huge, huge moment for people that have been campaigning so hard north of the border to have the same access to justice as people in England and Wales.
Although the inquiry is sort of dragging its heels, but well, hopefully they'll get on with it. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. But first, your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has told MPs that he spoke to the police about Peter Mandelson.
Prevent any inaccurate speculation. I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith.
This comes after the Times newspaper reported that he told the force Mandelson was a flight risk. Mandelson's lawyers have described those claims as baseless. Hundreds of illegal migrants are crossing the English Channel in the biggest surge of small boats so far this year. GB News can reveal around 450 are attempting to reach the UK today, with many having already crossed into UK waters. And energy bills will fall by £117 a year in April, Ofgem's announced. Nearly everyone in England, Wales and Scotland will benefit from a cut irrespective of their tariff. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, Sam Francis has your update at 3 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Tatiana. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Donald Trump claims America is back as he spoke for almost 2 hours overnight in Washington. We'll speak to Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton.
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Some very warm conditions across parts of eastern England for the time of year. Temperatures up to 18, maybe even 19 Celsius, where many places seeing some sunshine as well. But it's far from sunny and warm everywhere. We've got low pressure clinging to the western areas, bringing outbreaks of rain across Scotland in particular, persistent rain in western Scotland. The rain may ease in Northern Ireland, some showery rain for southern Scotland, the far northwest of England, west coast of Wales and Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly too. But a good part of eastern Wales, much of the Midlands and eastern England, dry and fine. And it's across the southeast where we've really got the warmth, 17, 18, perhaps 19 Celsius. Everywhere is quite mild, but obviously it doesn't feel all that mild in Scotland with the wet conditions here. They'll slowly start to pull away from the central belt during this evening time, but much of the west coast and further north will continue with outbreaks of rain through the evening. The rain should also be easing in Northern Ireland, but not completely. There'll still be some showers moving in here. Pretty showery rain will come into Northern England through the evening time as well, and perhaps spread across South Wales down towards Cardiff, but much of the Midlands and eastern England remains dry and largely clear well into the evening time. Overnight, the cloud will slowly start to push its way further southwards, bringing a few spots of rain here and there. We'll continue with some outbreaks of rain, particularly in western Scotland. The breeze starts to strengthen as we go through the night as well, with the mild air in place, while temperatures really holding up through the course of the night. On to the details for Thursday, and it looks like many areas will have a dry start. Quite a lot of cloud initially. Rain will soon spread into Northern Ireland, though. That'll push into western Scotland. Then that rain will trickle into Northern England and Wales. The odd little bit of showery rain, perhaps into the Midlands, southwest England, but much of the southeast again staying dry. And here again we'll have the highest temperatures. Not as warm as today, but still creeping in to the teens. Goodbye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A55 at Britannia Bridge, both directions have a 30 miles per hour limit until further notice. In Norfolk, the A47 is shut westbound due to a collision, reopening expected by 7:42 this evening. In Northamptonshire, the A5 is closed northbound after a crash, easing by 6:38 this evening. In Wiltshire, the A303 eastbound is blocked after a vehicle crossed the central reservation, clearing by 3:20. And on the trains, there is disruption on Grand Central and Great Northern services between Peterborough, Cambridge and London. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 35 minutes after 2 o'clock and it's time for the Great British Giveaway. And if you've had enough of the miserable weather, how do you fancy a luxury holiday for two worth 10 grand plus 30 grand in your bank tax-free? Here are the details.
There's just 2 days left to see how you could win, as there's cash and a holiday up for grabs in our two-part Great British Giveaway. First, you can bank a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people, with flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included. You'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. But don't miss out, as lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed.
Well, the time is 36 minutes past 2 and Iran has accused Donald Trump of spreading big lies about its missile programme.
The US president claimed that Iran was building weapons that could strike his country.
Well, here's what Donald Trump said in his State of the Union address.
some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue. They're starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Now by John Bolton, who used to be Trump's national security advisor. John, welcome to the programme. Good to talk to you. John, even if you... Thank you very much for joining us. Even if you don't support the man, 107 minutes he spoke for. He's got some stamina, hasn't he?
147 minutes, 148.
147? Wow,
you know,
we had 107.
Fidel Castro standards, but he's getting up there.
Yeah. Just beating out Bill Clinton for the longest speech. But of course, on Iran, this is something where it seems like the president has oscillated over the course of the last 2 months. It seems that we're getting briefings one day that there's going to be some sort of strike, that there's a carrier group that's there in the region, and then suddenly it's all diplomatic, nicely, softly, softly. Can you give us a bit of an insight into the man's head? What on earth is going on?
Well, I don't think he's made up his mind, honestly. This is not a case of playing three-dimensional chess with the Iranian leadership. He just doesn't know what he wants to do. I do think that he needs to use military force at an absolute minimum to vindicate the red line that he drew to the Ayatollahs back in January when he said, don't execute the protesters, don't gun them down, in effect, and they went ahead and did it anyway. So for his own credibility's sake, I think we're likely to see some kind of military force in the near future. The bigger question is whether he will act strategically, coordinating with the Iranian opposition to try and destabilize the regime of the Ayatollahs. Because as long as that regime remains in power, there's no chance of real peace and security in the Middle East, and their nuclear and terrorist threats remain around the world. He has said in this second term he favors regime change in Iran. He did not say that in the first term. In fact, he said the opposite. So he's laid the groundwork to take pretty considerable military steps, but whether he does it or not, I think remains undecided.
Now, I want to ask you, so you talked about regime change. So will they have already decided what their actual plan would be if they do get to Iran and do some sort of missile strike? What is their plan? Because regime change, will they have an idea as to how they will go about doing that?
Yeah, I can guarantee you the Pentagon has plenty of alternative plans ready. They're waiting for a political decision by the president, and then they'll be prepared to execute. But I think the best way to go about regime change is to go after the instruments of state power, like the Revolutionary Guard and the besieging militia, the Quds Force, that threaten us, the Israelis, the Gulf Arabs externally, and threaten the Iranian people at home. Because I think by inflicting damage on these institutions of state power, you demonstrate both to people still in the government and to the opposition that the regime can't protect itself, can't protect its ballistic missile or nuclear programs, and ultimately that means it can't protect its own leadership. I wouldn't go after the supreme leader and the Ayatollahs now, but I would go after the top leadership of the Revolutionary Guard is one of the most important topics. And I think when you see that leadership eliminated, a lot of other officers in the regular military and even in the Revolutionary Guard will say, you know, maybe we ought to get on the other side of this.
And yet, isn't one of the difficulties here that in somewhere like Venezuela, Donald Trump could send in his team in a matter of minutes, kidnap the leader of that country. Maduro now in a prison in America. It's unlikely such a clean, quick and simple operation could take place in Iran. The sort of cascading different options of what could happen as a result of intervention seem just so broad. And Trump doesn't want one thing. He doesn't want to get embroiled in another sort of generational war in the Middle East, the kind that he campaigned against.
Right. Well, that's why I think there's not a question here of boots on the ground, except maybe some special operations forces to help the aerial campaign. And I think if the administration is coordinating with the opposition, there's a lot that can be done. I am worried that they're not doing enough coordination. But I think it's important to see that the regime is at the weakest point it's been since it took power in 1979. It's unpopular across the board in Iran, really geographically, all economic classes, especially among the women and the youth. This is a point where taking decisive action, I think, could make the difference, and we could see the regime topple. There's no guarantee, of course, and there's always a risk of failure. The question is, do you take the opportunity when it arises, because it may not come soon again?
And I just wanted to ask you, finally, about Donald Trump's address. Did you think he did a good job?
Well, from his point of view, he didn't make any serious mistakes, which is always good. I think anytime an American president talks that long, he's going to lose his audience. But he started off the right way. He brought in the gold medal winning men's hockey team. He gave out some congressional medals of honor. He wasn't as insulting as he could have been even to his opponents. So I don't think he did himself any damage last night. I rather doubt, given how polarized the country is, that he did himself much good. But we'll see as the polls indicate. Everybody's obviously focused on the November election, where it looks like the Democrats will take control of at least one house of Congress, which would be a huge setback for the Trump presidency.
Yeah, it seems like perhaps the clock is ticking on the president's ability to sort of get things done, frankly. Will he be a lame duck? I suppose that's to be seen. John Bolton, thanks indeed for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, he used to be Donald Trump's national security advisor. Thank you. Right, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, victory for the Tartan Army. Scotland fans have been given the green light to wear their sporrans on their kilts at this summer's World Cup.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Plenty of warm and sunny weather across Europe now. Blustery showers in Cyprus, windy in the Canaries. Those two regions the exception to the mostly dry and settled theme. High pressure across Central Europe, bringing plenty of sunshine through Spain, Portugal, into France. Italy seeing above average temperatures as well, 17 or 18 Celsius widely. But we do have these showers across the Greek islands into Cyprus with some gusty winds.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 minutes to 3 o'clock, and the Tartan Army have been given the green light by FIFA to wear sporrans with their kilts at this summer's World Cup in the United States.
Yes, tens of thousands of Scotland supporters are expected to travel to the tournament amid fears security rules would ban traditional dress.
Well, joining us now is our very own Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire. And Tony, I hope you've got a kilt with you.
No, he's dressed up. Oh, Tony.
Would I ever disappoint you, Tom? Would I ever disappoint you? Come on now. Well, look, this is an incredible story. This is Scotland winning before we even made it over the Atlantic. This was discussions that were ongoing between the Scottish FA and FIFA, and now FIFA has told the SFA that they will instruct staff at the stadiums on the East Coast, particularly in Boston and Miami, where Scotland have their games, that Scotland fans are to be allowed in with their sporrans. That is this little number that is usually hanging around here. And that's, of course, because kilts famously don't have pockets. Now, I'm joined by Ian, who is the director here at Kilts for You. Ian, give me a sense of why Scotland fans should be so happy that they're able to take their kilts into the games.
Well, they've first of all got somewhere to put their phones and also to keep their credit cards.
And this particular one, actually, that Kilts for You has made, actually has a little space for your credit card. That is thinking ahead. But we're getting ahead of ourselves now. Scotland fans, of course, famous around the world for getting on with whatever culture they happen to step into. Surely happy Scotland fans means happy East Coast of America when that time comes.
Everywhere our fans go, they turn it into a party. And they literally have a ball with the locals. The locals love them. And, you know, they spend loads of money, which is what they want.
Which is good for any local economy. Now, the reason for this original fear that sporrans wouldn't be allowed is because of the bag sizes. Obviously, with stricter security concerns, bags allowed in the stadiums have to be kind of 4.5 inches by 6.5, a bit smaller than a sporran. But obviously, those talks were successful, and now Scotland fans can get in. Now, tell me about not just this sporran, but this is, I believe, Kilts for You is the only official retailer or licensee of the official Scotland team tartan. Tell me about this kilt. This is amazing.
Correct, yeah, we're very proud to be so. And when we set about the project, we thought about the whole concept of it being for the fan in 35 degrees heat in America. So what we've actually done is we've used a new technical lightweight fabric, and we've made the kilt a 5-yard kilt, which is almost half of what a full 8-yard kilt is. So the whole thing has been designed with the fan in mind to be comfortable in that heat over there. during the month of June.
And obviously heat in Scottish people isn't famously a couple that you would usually put together, but you know, I don't know if you can catch a quick look at that sporring, incredible detail there. And yeah, so Scotland fans, one more reason to be excited for the World Cup.
But do you wear underwear underneath the kilt? Because I heard they don't. Of
course not.
They don't wear the underwear underneath. He's not going to answer that. Oh, Tony McGuire, thank you very much. That's GBNews' Scotland reporter. Gosh, crikey.
Amazing. Well, very, very good news for Scotland.
It is, isn't it? I love Scotland. But it's true, Scottish people, they don't really like the heat. I went out with a Scottish guy. We couldn't share the same room because he'd want the window wide open and the fan on and everything. And I'd be like, it's just too cold. I hate the cold. So that ended. Also, he had really bad teeth because I think he drank too much.
Oh, gosh.
Too many fizzy drinks.
Well, that is not an actual stereotype.
I won't say which one. No, it isn't. He did. No, it's true. It's the truth.
Well,
it's the truth.
Thank you indeed for watching Good Afternoon Britain here. Do stay with us because here on GB News, Martin Daubney is up next.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Afternoon. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Pretty mild out there in places. Tomorrow, still fairly mild, especially across the southeast, but not quite the same temperatures that we've seen today. Further west, it's been quite wet today in Western Scotland especially. The rain continuing here on and off through the night, and we'll see further showers over northern England, Wales and southern Scotland, along with Northern Ireland during the night too. But much of eastern England will stay dry. There'll be some lengthy clear spells, but with the air wafting up from the south, it's not going to be a cold night. Temperatures in many towns and cities staying in double digits. A largely dry start to Thursday, but many places won't stay that way. Still the odd shower in the morning over parts of northern England and Wales. Should have some brightness over parts of eastern England, but it won't be as warm and sunny here tomorrow as it has been today. Certainly further west there'll be a thickening cloud and some outbreaks of rain, initially fairly patchy, but some heavier rain likely to push into Northern Ireland and Western Scotland during the morning. So as I said, after a largely dry start, it will be turning wetter and windier. The winds getting quite gusty at times through Thursday as they bring in this zone of wet weather, creeping into northwest England and West Wales by lunchtime, and then spreading over northern England towards the Midlands and most of Wales into the southwest of England by the middle of the afternoon. East Anglia in the southeast may well stay dry and quite bright, and here we'll have the highest temperatures, 14, perhaps even 15 with some brightness, but those numbers down on today's values and feeling cooler with the breeze. It remains pretty gusty into Friday, especially so in the south, and there'll be further outbreaks of rain. Difficult to pin down exactly where will be wettest on Friday, but that rain does need watching as we go through the course of Friday. Temperature-wise, again though, on the mild side with a bit of brightness, those numbers likely to creep into the teens, turning a little cooler though across northern parts of Scotland and feeling fresher in the south once more because of the wind.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win £30,000 in tax-free cash. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from. But you have to hurry because time is ticking.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airwaves.